again with World Crisis Radio, commenting on this historic landmark verdict in Milan. 23 CIA employees convicted of kidnapping. 22 of them get 5 years in the clink, and the CIA station chief in Milan, 8 years, and the loss of his villa. The 7 SISMI, Italian military intelligence defendants, and again, 5 of them got off because of state secrets. The evidence against them was classified, and 2 of them, however, were convicted as accessories or accomplices to kidnapping. They get 3 years in jail plus 5 years where they cannot hold government jobs, so they can't go back to the SISMI. Unfortunately, Polari and Mancini got off. Nevertheless, 118 years of jail time for CIA employees who are, of course, fugitives and were tried in absentia. Now, these are big fish. Polari, let's look at him, and let's look at his connections to Bob Lady. People must remember the famous story of the Niger yellow cake. Remember those forged documents that turned up in the SISMI quarters of Rome back in 2002, 2003, and this was, of course, the run-up to the Iraq War. Remember Bush's famous 16 words in the State of the Union address of early 2003. The British government has determined that Saddam Hussein of Iraq has been looking for uranium in African countries. Well, the basis of that were forgeries which were presumably whipped up by CIA types inside the United States. They were then peddled over to Rome, sent to Rome, where they were peddled again to journalists from Panorama, given to the U.S. Embassy, and so forth. This is the basis, one of the key elements of Bush attacking Iraq. The invasion of Iraq was based to a significant degree on these forged Niger yellow cake documents. Now, according to most reports, Polari, the defendant who got off here, was the guy who delivered the fake Niger yellow cake forged documents to the Bush White House. Polari came to the White House. He met with Stephen Hadley, number 2 for Condoleezza Rice, and said, Steve, here are these documents. They show that Saddam Hussein is trying to buy uranium yellow cake from Niger. So Bob Lady also involved in this caper. So these are big fish. This is a window opened into the world of covert operations and CIA abuses, the abuses of the SISMI, also quite significant. There seems to be something like a CIA-SISMI alliance or Siamese twins. This is not good. CIA, of course, the senior partner, but nevertheless, in the background, counterterrorism intelligence centers. This is the new infrastructure of the U.S. cooperation between CIA and foreign agencies. The counterterrorism intelligence centers, CTIC, well, that's supposed to be anti-terror, but based on what we see here, it's the new Gladio, isn't it? Because they don't fight terrorism, they carry it out. They carry out kidnappings, torture, and God knows what else. We can't say that we know everything, but we do know some significant things. The CIA has CTIC agreements with 24 countries. Hats off to the Italian prosecutors, Armando Spataro, who carried this through to the convictions, Guido Salvini, who had also been in the past instrumental in getting a U.S. Navy character indicted for the bombs in Milan in December 1969, 40 years ago next month. Spataro Salvini got no help from the left-wing Prodi government, no help from Berlusconi and his right-wing government. The Constitutional Court tried to stop them. The U.S. government stopped them at every point. Polari and Mancini set up a campaign to defame the judges as commies run by the KGB or God knows what. But Spataro and Salvini were able to hang tough. The result is we have the world's first verdict against illegal rendition. For the first time anywhere in the world, a court has said what the CIA calls extraordinary rendition is kidnapping, and it's a crime. And I would add, well, you can take it from there. It is also the first major CIA trial with defendants and convictions in Italy in approximately 50 to 60 years. It is a tremendous watershed in that regard. In other words, the Italian status of limited sovereignty in NATO is not so limited anymore. It is also the most thorough judicial expose of CIA covert operations that there's ever been. Hats off to Spataro and Salvini. This is the great tradition. Remember Judge Imposimato, who investigated the papal assassination and indeed the Moro assassination, the papal assassination attempt and the Moro assassination of 1978. Calogero, delving into the Red Brigades, naming Tony Negri as part of the direction, the target selection apparatus of the Red Brigades, quite significant there. Thought to be influenced by my own book, The Moro Dossier, Who Killed Aldo Moro, Chi ha ucciso Aldo Moro, published in Rome in 1978. Then there's Judge Palermo, anti-mafia investigator, an attempt by the mafia to blow him up, left him with lifelong injuries. And Judge Casson, who delved into Gladio, that infamous Cold War stay-behind operation with deposits of arms and explosives and teams of terrorists who were supposed to go into action against the Red Army if they ever arrived, but then went into action against the civilian political parties and leaders and unionists in Italy. So Spataro and Salvini joined that honor roll. The big question now is, since these characters from the CIA have been convicted, not just accused, but convicted, will they be extradited? Now, for that to happen, the Italian government has got to pull itself together and send the demand for extradition to Eric Holder in Washington, D.C. Justice Minister Alfano of Italy, all eyes are on you. Won't you send that extradition to Washington, D.C., so we can get some justice and take a step in favor of the rule of law and against what amounts to terrorism by state-sponsored entities, because that's what this was. Probably Berlusconi should consider his attempt to shield the CIA from this investigation is probably obsolete at this point. Look what Berlusconi has been getting from Anglo-American intelligence. They've been trying to defame him and mock him because, of course, he's involved in the South Stream pipeline with Putin and with Turkey. So maybe it's time for Berlusconi to take a balanced approach, which in this case would be let justice be done. Let the wheels of justice turn. Let justice work. And let's get the demand for extradition into the hands of Eric Holder as soon as possible and see what the great peace angel Obama does. Because that's the other thing. I had been at Russia Today once for this case, but earlier in the week also, because one of these aircraft had shown up in Birmingham. And it reminds us that Obama is committed to illegal rendition. Obama is the kidnapper-in-chief. He said in his executive order of 22 January that renditions will go on. Human Rights Watch, a gang of hypocrites, who said as long as Bush is doing the renditions, we're against them. But when it's Obama doing the kidnapping, we're for it. It's a useful tool. It's indispensable, says Comrade Malinowski over at Human Rights Watch, Marshall Malinowski there. So this is now for Obama. Obama is committed to kidnapping renditions. He says he's against torture, but of course they still deliver people to countries that do torture, and I believe they will probably be found to be doing torture themselves. And the other thing is the black sites. Obama says black sites are great as long as they're temporary interim. So that means keep these prisoners moving, and they'll all be interim, and you can go on forever. So, Obama hypocrite, what are you going to do with this one? Back in a minute.